So tomorrow morning, your phone might buy your groceries, book an anniversary dinner, and, I don't know, debug a break in script before you've even had your first sip of coffee.
Yeah, and the crazy part is you aren't tapping any buttons to do that.
Right. You aren't typing prompts into a chat window anymore. The technology is just quietly doing the heavy lifting in the background. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of updates from the August 12, 2026 edition of the Daily Tech Reader's AI News.
Yeah, we have a lot to cover.
We really do. The mission today is to map out this massive industry-wide shift because the era of AI just acting as this like passive, polite chatbot waiting for your command, that is officially over.
Completely over.
We're moving into a world where AI is an active, autonomous agent integrated directly into your daily chores, your hardware, your web browser. Okay, let's unpack this because reading through these updates from Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, DeepSeek, it feels like the underlying architecture of how we interact with computers just underwent a seismic shift.
It absolutely did.
Hmm.
We are witnessing the pivot from conversational AI to what the industry is calling agentic AI.
Agentic AI.
Right. And for you listening, understanding this shift really requires looking past the shiny new features, to see the broader strategy. So we're going to examine how this is playing out across 4 distinct arenas.
Which are?
The physical hardware you carry in your pocket, the digital workspace where you spend your day, the global geopolitical race to deploy these autonomous workers, and finally, the regulatory reality of trying to govern software that, well, acts with a mind of its own.
Yeah, that last one is going to be a mess. But let's start with the physical world, specifically the device that most of us have within arm's reach 24/7. Google just held their Made by Google 26 event.
They did.
And historically, these keynotes, they obsess over like the megapixel count on the camera or the sleekness of the titanium bezel. And yeah, they unveiled the new Pixel 11 for $899. It features a new highlight LED and a Tensor G6 chip. But reading the actual specs in these sources, it is glaringly obvious that hardware events are no longer about the hardware.
Oh, not at all.
The physical phone is basically just a Trojan horse to deliver Gemini intelligence into your living room.
What's fascinating here is the underlying physics required to make that Trojan horse function. So the sources mentioned the Tensor G6 chip is built on TSMC's 2-nanometer process.
Okay, 2 nanometer, that sounds small, but I mean, what does that actually mean in practice?
Well, a nanometer is a billionth of a meter. We're
Mhm.
talking about transistor gates that are essentially just a few atoms wide.
Wow.
And why that matters for AI is because when transistors are that densely packed, the electrons just have significantly less distance to travel.
So they compute faster.
Exactly. They compute way faster, and crucially, they generate a fraction of the heat.
Ah, heat, because running AI gets hot.
Extremely hot. For Gemini to act as an on-device agent like booking your rides, ordering your groceries, and making phone calls on your behalf, it requires constant real-time processing of your surroundings.
Right.
If you tried to run that continuous contextual analysis on a chip from even like 2 years ago, your phone would literally overheat in your pocket.
It would just melt or shut down.
Yeah, and the battery would die in 40 minutes. So the 2-nanometer process is the mechanical breakthrough that actually allows a massive language model to live locally on your device.
And Google is really leveraging that local processing power to turn the phone's hardware into like sensory organs for the AI.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like the Pixel camera now features live ASL to text translation. So the camera is acting as the AI's eye, instantly interpreting American Sign Language in real time, which, I mean, that is a brilliant accessibility feature.
It is. It's huge.
But then there's this new voice input tool powered by Gemini called Rambler, and Rambler acts as the AI's ear, but with this really aggressive filter.
Yeah, the filler word filter.
Right. It automatically strips out all your filler words before converting your speech to text. So if you say, or like a dozen times while dictating a message, Rambler cleans it up instantly.
Just wipes them out.
Which, here's where it gets really interesting, but also a bit weird for me. If this AI agent is intercepting our speech and scrubbing all our hesitations and pauses, aren't we just going to sound like perfect, emotionless robots? I mean, it feels like we're optimizing away our human quirks.
It does, and it creates a really strange paradox.
Hmm.
On a technical level, Rambler is doing this for pure computational efficiency.
Well, so.
Well, filler words are essentially noise in a data set. By stripping out the ums and ahs, Rambler lowers the token count of your audio.
Oh, fewer tokens means it's cheaper and faster to process.
Precisely. The AI agent can process your command and execute the task much faster. But you are entirely correct about the social implication. Human friction, like a pause, a hesitation, a stutter, that carries massive emotional context.
Right. A delayed yes means something very different than an immediate yes.
Exactly. Rambler prioritizes frictionless execution over emotional fidelity. But for Google, the priority is just feeding Gemini clean data from every possible angle, which explains why they aren't stopping at just the phone.
Yeah, the ecosystem is growing.
Right. Along with the Pixel 11, they launched the Pixel Watch 5 for $399, and for the first time, the Pixel Tag, which is Google's new Bluetooth UWB tracker.
Yeah, the sources note pre-orders for the Pixel Tag open today, and they start shipping August 20. But UWB, that's ultra-wideband, right? That is vastly different from standard Bluetooth.
It's in a completely different league of precision. Standard Bluetooth calculates distance based on signal strength, which, as we all know, is notoriously flaky.
Yeah, my headphones disconnect if I just look at them wrong.
Exactly. But UWB calculates distance using something called time of flight.
Time of flight.
Yeah, it measures the exact nanosecond it takes a radio pulse to travel from the tag to your phone and back.
Oh, wow.
So that gives the device spatial awareness down to the centimeter. So connect the dots on Google's strategy here.
Okay.
Gemini now has your location context via the phone, your biometric context via the Pixel Watch 5, and the exact spatial layout of your physical items, like your keys, your wallet, your backpack, via the Pixel Tag.
So it isn't just an assistant in an app anymore.
No, it is actively building a continuous 3D map of your physical reality so it can act autonomously within it.
That is wild. I mean, Google is systematically trying to own our physical interactions,
Yes.
but while they're busy colonizing the real world, the sources show Anthropic and OpenAI are locked in completely different, but honestly equally fierce battle.
Software side.
Exactly. They want to colonize our digital desk. They want to own our daily schedule. So let's pivot to the battle of the browser.
The browser has essentially become the modern operating system. I mean, it's where the vast majority of knowledge work actually takes place now.
Yeah, nobody uses desktop apps anymore.
Right. Anthropic clearly recognizes this, which is why they just upgraded the Claude and Chromeified panel into a full co-work session.
And the word session really does a lot of heavy lifting in these updates.
It really does.
This co-work session, it seamlessly syncs your conversations, your skills, and all your app connectors across desktop, web, and mobile without any extra setup. Like, you can start a massive research task on your laptop, close it, and Claude just carries the entire context window right over to your phone.
Which is incredibly fluid for users.
Yeah. Plus, they rolled out some highly specific bug fixes for Claude Code. They resolved issues where, like, interactive sessions were failing to redraw mid-run, they patched Windows Git detection failures, and they fixed cross-session resume leaks.
That's super technical stuff.
Yeah, they're clearly targeting serious, heavy-duty software engineers with these updates.
They're definitely targeting developers, but they're also aiming at the highest levels of institutional infrastructure. Anthropic just pushed Claude for Government into beta.
Oh, right, the government sector.
Yeah, and this is a massive logistical leap. Previously, if a federal agency wanted to use an AI model, they had to route the procurement through this convoluted third-party cloud provider contract.
A total bureaucratic nightmare, I'm sure.
Exactly. But Anthropic has now built the compliance and billing infrastructure to allow agencies to onboard directly at Claude.com.
So they're cutting out the middleman entirely.
Yes, they're aggressively closing what the industry refers to as the browser-to-desktop gap. They want the AI to have native access to the local files on a government worker's desktop while simultaneously operating in the browser.
Man. And meanwhile, OpenAI is doing the exact same thing, but more for the consumer and the enterprise market.
Right.
ChatGPT just introduced native restaurant reservations. You can now book tables from OpenTable, Resy, and Yelp right inside the chat window. The agent just handles all the back-and-forth negotiation with the booking API for you.
It's completely frictionless.
Yeah, and they're expanding ChatGPT ads, which they had piloted in the U.S., to 5 new countries.
Which ones?
The UK, Mexico, Brazil, Japan, and South Korea. Plus, they rolled out 3 new back-to-school education plugins specifically targeting K-12 teachers, college educators, and college students to automate lesson planning and course design.
OpenAI is essentially attempting to become the default interaction layer for the entire internet. Notice that you aren't going to Yelp's website anymore. You aren't visiting OpenTable.
No, you just tell the chat what you want.
Right. ChatGPT sits between you and the internet, translating your intent into an API call.
And the update that proves that strategy better than anything else is the sign-in with ChatGPT beta.
Oh, this is huge.
They are rolling this out for massive partner sites like Airtable, GitLab, HubSpot, Notion, Supabase, and Vercel. I mean, sign in with ChatGPT is basically the new sign in with Google or Apple.
It is.
It is literally becoming our digital passport. So let me ask you, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's take a step back and look at the architecture we are building here. If Claude holds our federal government data, and ChatGPT has our dinner reservations, our code base on GitLab, our sales data on HubSpot, and our kids' K-12 lesson plans, aren't we creating a terrifying single point of failure for our entire digital lives?
You absolutely are handing over the master keys to a single ecosystem.
It feels risky.
It is. But we have to look at the mechanics of why these companies are pushing for this. Under the hood, sign-in with ChatGPT isn't just a standard oath token that verifies your identity.
Okay, how is it different?
It grants the AI active read and write permissions across all those disparate databases simultaneously.
Oh, read and write, so it can actually change things.
Yes. By consolidating those permissions, you gain an undeniable efficiency. Your AI agent can read an email in HubSpot, write a corresponding script in GitLab, and document the whole process in Notion, all autonomously.
Because it has the keys to all three doors.
Exactly. The reason OpenAI and Anthropic are fighting so viciously for this is because ecosystem lock-in is the ultimate prize in modern tech.
You know, I used to think of ecosystem lock-in like a walled garden. Like once you buy the phone, you kind of have to buy the watch.
Right.
But this feels different. This is more like pouring a concrete foundation for a house. Once your plumbing, your electrical, your structural supports are completely integrated into ChatGPT's APIs across 6 different enterprise apps, you can't just swap to a competitor.
No, it's impossible.
You'd have to tear down the entire digital house and start over.
That is a much more accurate way to view it. The switching costs become practically insurmountable for an enterprise company. And because that foundational lock-in is so incredibly lucrative, the race to build the smartest autonomous agents, well, it isn't just a Silicon Valley turf war anymore.
No.
It's gone completely global.
Which brings us to China. DeepSeek has formed what they are calling a harness team in Beijing.
Yeah.
They launched an official WeChat account specifically to hire developers to build agentic coding tools. And according to the sources, their explicit goal is to rival Anthropic's Claude Code directly.
They're not being subtle about it.
Not at all. It feels like a modern space race, but instead of trying to put a person on the moon, superpower nations are trying to put a tireless, autonomous coder in every developer's terminal.
And DeepSeek is moving aggressively on pricing to capture that market share. They just took their V4 Flash model out of preview, and the economics are honestly staggering.
How cheap are we talking?
They are charging just 14 cents per million input tokens and 28 cents per million output tokens.
That's nothing.
Right. For context, that allows a startup to deploy thousands of automated coding queries for pennies.
But here's the technical detail that caught my eye, and I really need you to break down the mechanics for me on this one.
Sure.
For years, the prevailing narrative in the tech world has been that bigger AI models are inherently better. You know, massive parameter counts and thousands of GPUs equal better reasoning.
That has been the conventional wisdom, yes.
Yet the sources state that DeepSeek's cheaper, smaller V4 Flash model hit a terminal bench score of 82.7%. That notably beat their own massive flagship model, the V4 Pro, specifically on agentic coding tasks.
You did.
How is it physically possible that a stripped-down Flash model is outperforming a massive Pro model at complex coding? I mean, that seems backward.
This is arguably the most important technical revelation in the Argus updates, and it requires understanding what terminal bench actually measures. See, most AI benchmarks are simple question and answer tests. Terminal bench is an autonomous sandbox.
What does that mean?
The AI is given a prompt, a command line, and a code editor. It has to write the code, execute it, read the error logs when it inevitably fails, write a patch, and try again until it works.
So it's actually doing the work, not just answering a trivia question.
Exactly. It tests persistence and iterative debugging. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the massive Pro models are designed to be polymaths.
Polymath.
Yeah, they have enormous neural weights dedicated to knowing a little bit about every French poetry, historical dates, recipe generation.
Right, they are carrying around the entire internet in their parameters.
Exactly. And when a Pro model tries to write code, all of that generalized knowledge actually becomes a liability.
Really?
Yeah, it consumes memory bandwidth and slows down the inference speed. A smaller Flash model, however, uses highly specialized fine-tuning. It strips out the French poetry and the recipes, dedicating its entire architecture purely to Python syntax and debugging logic.
Ah, I see.
So in the realm of agentic tasks, brute force knowledge loses to highly specialized, highly efficient architecture.
So it's kind of the difference between hiring a brilliant philosopher who takes 3 days to ponder the existential meaning of a broken pipe versus hiring a specialized plumber who just walks in and fixes it in 20 minutes.
That is precisely it. And at 14 cents a million tokens, tech companies don't just hire one plumber. They deploy a swarm of 1,000 Flash agents to tackle massive, complex code-based migrations autonomously.
It's an army of plumbers.
Exactly. The benchmark proves that the future of AI isn't just massive, all-knowing oracle brains. It is a decentralized network of highly specialized, incredibly fast task workers executing millions of actions a minute.
But deploying swarms of autonomous agents executing code and making purchases globally at lightning speed, I mean, that creates a massive speed problem.
It certainly does.
If millions of AI workers are operating faster than humanly possible, human oversight becomes physically impossible, which explains why global governments are suddenly hitting the panic button this week.
Big time.
The technology has officially transitioned from a cool tech experiment into essential digital infrastructure. And right on cue, regulators are stepping in to establish the guardrails.
And as we examine these new legal frameworks, it's fascinating to watch these two opposing forces collide right now. You have technology companies deploying autonomous systems at breakneck speed, and governments scrambling to implement localized speed limits and safety checks.
Yeah, it's a massive clash.
And I want to be clear for the listener here, we aren't taking sides on this. We aren't here to declare a winner or take a stance on whether the tech is moving too dangerously fast or if the laws are too restrictive.
Right, we're just looking at the facts.
Exactly, we're just reporting the landscape. But the undeniable reality is that the friction between these two forces is actively redefining how the internet functions.
And that collision is happening immediately. We've spent this entire deep dive talking about new chips, new models, and new features that are rolling out literally this week. And the pace of government legislation is historically glacial, yet we have two major regulatory updates hitting at exactly the same time. In Europe, the EU AI Act's August 2026 compliance phase is now fully active.
This is a monumental operational shift for the industry. The EU AI Act now legally requires strict AI-generated content labeling.
Okay.
But more importantly, for our discussion on agents, it mandates chatbot disclosure at the exact point of interaction.
So it has to announce itself.
Exactly. If you are interacting with an AI, the software must instantly and clearly identify itself as a non-human entity. And crucially, this compliance phase grants the European Commission full enforcement powers, meaning they can levy massive fines against general-purpose AI providers who fail to comply.
And it is not just Europe. Here in the U.S., Colorado just became the first state to sign a law specifically focused on protecting minors from AI harm.
Yeah, the Chatbot Safety Act.
Yeah, Governor Jared Polis signed it, and it takes effect January 1st, 2027. It requires baseline safety requirements for all users, but implements rigorous, age-gated additional protections for anyone under 18.
That adds a lot of friction.
Exactly. Looking at how these agents actually work, isn't a fragmented state-by-state, country-by-country legal framework going to just accidentally break the technology?
This raises an important question, and honestly, it is the exact logistical nightmare keeping enterprise compliance officers awake at night right now. Think back to the continuous Anthropic co-work session we discussed earlier, where an agent seamlessly moves from your desktop to your phone across the open web.
Right. It's designed to be borderless. It just goes with you.
But the laws are inherently bordered. How does a global Claude agent navigate a reality where it must actively, legally halt a task to identify itself as a bot the second its digital footprint crosses into a European server?
Oh, wow.
While simultaneously adhering to strict identity-verified minor safety protocols the moment you carry your laptop across the state line into Colorado.
That's insane. It's not like swapping out a car engine at the border. It's more like driving a vehicle that has to instantly tint all its windows, reduce its speed limit to 30, and automatically engage the child safety locks the exact millisecond its GPS registers it crossing into Colorado airspace.
Yes.
And if it misses that millisecond, the company gets fined massive amounts of money.
That is the mechanical reality of compliance in 2026. The agents are fundamentally designed to eliminate friction for the user, but the regulations fundamentally mandate friction disclosures age checks, consent banners to protect the user.
Two completely opposite goals.
Exactly. Watching how these tech giants engineer their way around these conflicting localized mandates while trying to maintain a seamless global product, well, that is going to be the defining engineering challenge of the next year.
So, to bring this all back to the mission of our deep dive today, in just a single day of August news updates, we've mapped out a complete transformation of the digital landscape.
We really have.
We've seen Google utilize 2-nanometer chips to turn the smartphone into a physical sensory organ for Gemini to touch the real world. We've watched Anthropic and OpenAI turn the browser into a deeply integrated, automated workspace that now basically holds the keys to our digital identity.
Right.
We've seen deep coding models from China become radically cheaper and faster, proving that specialized task workers can outperform massive AI brains. And we've watched as governments in the EU and Colorado fundamentally alter the rules of engagement, forcing these borderless bots to navigate a total maze of localized friction.
It is a profound structural shift. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on the mechanics we've explored today.
Lay it on us.
We talked extensively about sign in with ChatGPT becoming the norm, and your personal AI agent constantly out there on the web, talking to Yelp's API to book your dinner or talking to HubSpot to analyze your sales data.
Yeah.
If our digital lives are soon going to be run by millions of bots, talking to other bots at lightning speed, executing contracts and making purchases autonomously, how long until we are forced to hire auditor AI agents?
Auditor agents.
Think about it, an entirely separate class of agents whose sole computational purpose is just to monitor the other agents acting in your name, ensuring they aren't making hallucinations, overspending, or being manipulated by a malicious bot. In a web consisting entirely of bots talking to bots at the speed of light, who watches the digital watchers?
Oh man, that is a staggering thought. I mean, if my personal AI is out there negotiating a reservation with a restaurant's AI, I might just need a third independent AI just to verify the receipt and make sure I wasn't price gouged by the other bots.
Exactly.
It brings us right back to where we started. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up and your phone has quietly handled 3 chores before your first cup of coffee, take a moment to look at that device. It's not just a screen with apps anymore.
Not at all.
It is a highly sensitive sensory organ constantly processing a very active, very autonomous digital world. So keep questioning your digital surroundings, keep looking for the invisible tasks happening behind the scenes, and thank you for joining us on today's Deep Dive.